You know, when you're doing your first album, you don't know what you don't know. Hopefully, you have someone, management, a producer, most notably, great engineer, people behind you who let you know that you can't do it that way. Or else, if you do it this way, you'll be chasing your tail. It'll take too long and you'll run through your whole budget. There are so many things that could go wrong on a first album. Roger Earl, the original drummer of Foghat, who's still with the band, tells us it was Dave Edmunds, the rock pile guy. I Hear You Knockin'. Remember Girls Talk? His collaborations with Nick Lowe. But it was Dave Edmunds who saved that first album. And as Roger Earl, you'll hear him say he was sprinkling angel dust on all the songs, making them even better. That's what saved the first Foghat album. Without Dave Edmunds, who knows what would have happened or not happened. Roger Earl on some musical geniuses he played with, including Todd Rundgren, on Rock History Music. Let's talk about Foghat, a British band that emerged in the early 70s, known for their blues-infused rock and boogie style. The group was formed in 1971 by former members of the blues rock band Savoy Brown. The original lineup included Lonesome Dave Peverett on lead vocals and rhythm guitar, Tony Stevens on bass guitar, Roger Earl drums, and Rod Price lead and slide guitar. The founding members were seasoned musicians. Lonesome Dave was known for his gritty style voice, energetic stage presence, and of course, a creative force in that band. Tony Stevens, as a bassist in this type of band, was crucial. Then Roger Earl, what a character. A very powerful drummer. And Rod Price's distinctive slide guitar, a trademark in the Foghat sound. As the popularity grew, of course, lineups changed. It is a rock band. Nick Jameson replaced Tony Stevens on bass and contributed to production. He was also a significant force on the band's biggest album, Fool for the City. And there was another replacement bassist, Craig McGregor. Like a lot of bands, they experienced their own strife and lineup changes, as mentioned. When Tony Stevens left because of creative differences and fatigue from the band's rigorous touring schedule. In the late 70s and early 80s, as the band's commercial success started to wane, more creative differences emerged, particularly between Peverett and the rest of the band. He left to create his own version of Foghat in the US, which caused a lot of confusion, and there were legal problems. The successes? Well, Foghat's discography has a lot of significant albums and singles. These are the tunes that cemented their success. Their third album, Energized, came out in 1974. It was their first to go gold, but it was their fifth studio album, Fool for the City, in 75, that brought them mainstream success. That's the one that featured their big hits, Slow Ride, often characterized as infectious. That riff is very catchy, of course. And it's still a mainstay on classic rock radio. Other notable albums, Foghat, the debut, in 1972, featured the popular track, I Just Want to Make Love to You, which really showcased that blues rock roots. In 74 came Rock and Roll Outlaws, with the track 8 Days on the Road. Night Shift from 76 continued their run of successful albums, and a cool copy of Al Green's Take Me to the River. Their live album from 77 was very successful. We'd be remiss if we didn't mention Charlie Hume, who collaborated with Ted Nugent, Humble Pie, and many others before joining Foghat in the year 2000. He was with them till 2022. As of 2022, the lineup for Foghat includes Roger Earl, who was with them right back to 1971, an original member, on drums. Brian Bassett, former Wild Cherry guitarist, yes, play that funky music, on lead and slide guitar and backing vocals. He joined in 1999. Rodney O'Quinn on bass guitar, and Scott Holt, lead vocals. Overall, their legacy as a powerful force in blues, rock, and boogie has always kept them on the pages of rock and roll magazines and websites all over the world. You know Dave Edmunds for the first album. How did you... The first Fog...
I was... the whole band, especially myself and Lonesome Dave, were big fans of Dave Edmunds, his records, and we read about the studio we thought it was his studio in Wales, but Rockfield, but it's not, and his band was called Rockpile. So anyway, once we got our record deal, Albert Grossman came over to England, and we rented a sweaty little club in northwest London, Islington. It was, the band, and we set out and played 4 songs for him, just Albert Grossman in there. And after we'd finished those songs, Albert said, well, hey, where can we get some tea and biscuits? And I said, there's a hotel across the road. And so we went over there and we ordered tea and biscuits. and everything arrived, and I started pouring tea. And Albert, the grossman, said, "Well, hey, let's do it." And about a month later, he sent me $10,000. We booked. I booked time in Rockfield in Wales. Dave Edmunds had the night shift, like midnight to midday, pretty much, and we had midday until Dave came in. We were in the same studio, and as is the case, our times crossed over a little bit, and we were well on our what we'd recorded. We'd already done a 6-song demo. That's how Albert heard about us, and Dave. Our record, our songs that we were recording sounded okay, but when you listen to Dave Edmunds making music and creating music, it was like another world. All of a sudden, it's alive. It's like you'll just go wow, or you can hear everything. Ours just sounded like this. That was guitars and drums and bass, but it didn't have anything. There was no magic. Our manager at the time, Tony Otida, said, went in and asked Dave Edmunds if he would produce us. And Dave said, well, I'm kind of busy at the moment, but as soon as I finish with my record, yeah. And I know that that first record wouldn't have been anywhere near as successful or as good as it was without Dave Edmunds' input. In fact, I doubt if it would have done anything. Dave Edmunds, as far as I'm concerned, is an absolute genius. He actually played guitar on some stuff, piano. He was fantastic to work with. He had that way of sprinkling like magic dust on the music. We would transform from just being a regular bluesy rock and roll band into, I think, especially the first song, I Just Want to Make Love to You. Dave Edmunds made it into something. We were playing it, but Dave made it into something, the way he mixed it and recorded it. Yeah, he's the man's a genius.
Brought Todd Rundgren in for Trouble.
What happened was our wanted to come over to England with the band. He brought Todd Rundgren along with him because Todd was the chief engineer at Bearsville Records to work with us on some stuff, which Todd did. We actually recorded Trouble at a different studio, at Air Studios in London. Todd played piano on it and guitar as well. He also worked with us in Rockfield on a couple of tracks. He also did some rough mixes for us. In fact, I got to see Todd a couple of years ago. We were doing a show together, Moon Dance Festival, I think it was. And I knocked on Todd's dressing room door and said, hello, tell Todd it's Roger. And Todd's standing there going, I am Todd. He changed a little bit. I hadn't changed at all, of course. Yeah, Todd Rundgren, there's another genius as well. Brilliant.
Every one of your interviews, Roger, you're saying, I just still love to play. I mean, and it comes through in the music.
Yeah, I do. A new lead singer, Scott Holt, just joined us 2 years ago because our original singer was with us for 20 odd years. Charlie Hume called me up 3 days before we're about to start rehearsals to go on tour and said, I'm retiring. I said, well, actually, he didn't even call me. He sent a text or an email to our manager, Linda. I said, whoa. It's kind of weird, but I don't think there's any easy way to say you're retiring. I think he had some issues with his voice, singing 2 or 3 days in a row. I know his hips were bothering him because he was an avid skier. I haven't talked to him since then. It's a bit sad, really, when you work with somebody for over 20 years and they don't call you back or even say, I'm leaving. That was weird. was here. We were working, we were writing some new material, just working on songs. I said, "You want to be the singer again?" He said, "Yes, please." So it was, had I never met Scott, I met Scott in 2014. A mutual friend of ours introduced us, and we became friends. We even made a record called Earl and the Agitators. Our last studio album, we were about 3 songs short for a double album, and Scott was down here, and I said that we need to write 3 songs. We wrote 17. That's so typical. And then we had to do something with the other 15 songs, so we put an album out called Earl and the Agitators. That came about because Brian Bassett, our producer, engineer, lead and slide guitar player, a resident genius as far as I'm concerned. There's a magic moment. You have 2 bottles of wine, especially in a cab from California, where this one's empty and this one's opened up. And there's a moment of that moment, right? The 2 bottles combine, and like you put this one down and you start on this one. There's a moment of genius, and Brian jumped up and said, "Earl and the Agitators," and we were born. And then, of course, we gave the tapes to our manager and said, "Can you get an album designed and put this out?" And she said, "Again?" I said, "Yes, thank you." She tolerates us very well.
Well, I really hope you enjoyed that. Roger Earl is quite a character, huh? Still doing it after a lot of years. The only original member left in Foghat. There'll be links to Foghat in the description of this video. Also links if you want to help out the channel. We're in the process of changing our mics, and buying good mics are very expensive. So this little Yeti Blue is pretty good. We need a better mic than this. So if you want to help us out, you can make a donation on our PayPal page. There's links in the description. Also links to Patreon, where you can get early access to all our videos. And remember to subscribe, click the notifications so you don't miss a video. A lot of folks have a tendency to forget that. But click the bell notification, you'll get included in everything we do, and you can join our newsletter too. There's a link in the description where you can do that. Like our videos, comment on them, and share them on social media. I'm John Bowden. This is Rock History Music.